What's up, my pickleball team? Today we are going to break down the main thing that I learned from the PPA Challenger tournament in Little Rock, Arkansas. As you can see, I'm inside. We are going to break down some game film, and then I'm going to go on the court and show you how to implement it into your game. So what is that one thing that I learned? Let's get into it right now. All right. As you can see here, we are going to start with the serve. This is just so critical for hitting the outside of the ball. Yes, that is what we're going to talk about, is hitting the outside of the ball. Too many times I see beginners, I see intermediates, even advanced players will hit underneath the ball like a slice, hitting the inside of the ball. But you're going to see these contracted pros versus us. Yes, we do go ahead and win with a 5'9" doubles duper, and I am going to show you how and when we are hitting the outside of the ball every single time, starting with the serve here. So you can see this guy's name is Tom here. Watch him start with the serve, hits the outside of the ball. You can even see he finishes the way he finishes with that closed paddle face as he goes through. I would like him to finish all the way more through, but funnily enough, they didn't capitalize on their serve, and I think it was a big issue. We were able to get in and put pressure on the return often because they didn't attack their serve that much here. So if we go again, watch his serve here. We'll do another example. Gets on the outside of that ball, and look how it goes cross court all the way over to my forehand here. His partner serving now here as well. That's the big thing here. Let's see if I can get rid of all this here. Look how he drops this paddle here. I wish I had a little bit better. He's going to get into his forehand position, and then the paddle drops so that he can go ahead and get on the outside of that ball here. It's not a slice, it's driving through. It's a lot of free power by getting on that outside of the ball here. So that's how you add outside hitting contact. Add more power, add more consistency, add more topspin. Let's go to the court and break down how to hit the serve on the outside of the ball. All right, welcome to the court section of finding the outside of the ball. As we were just talking about inside, we're going to start with the serve and making sure we're hitting on that outside of the ball for maximum power, maximum topspin, and maximum control. So like I said earlier, too many times I see people will serve the ball and swipe across their body and get that slice serve. It's okay to throw in a slice serve once in a while if that's what you want to do, but in order to add maximum power, maximum depth, and maximum topspin, which kicks into them, pushes them back, so it only makes it easier on you, I want you to think about getting this paddle head to drop down here. See how I'm pointing this down here? We're going to hit 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock to 12 o'clock on the ball. That's an exaggeration, but I want you to think about that moon shape of low to high. And for all my baseball players out there, it's like we're hitting to right field to start, and then we're coming to left field. So it's as if I'm going out and around. And so obviously I missed that way long, but you can see how it has that nice shape on it. Okay, so let's slow this down for you. We're going to toss the ball in front of us. We're going to drop this paddle head, and we're going to finish to our left shoulder, closing that wrist over. Just like that. That's easy topspin. That's easy power. Now let's see if we can pull it wide cross court over there. Super easy. That's how you get on the outside of the ball for your serve. Okay, great work on the serve. Now let's talk about the next most important shot to get on the outside of the ball. That is the third shot drop. And the reason we want to get underneath / outside of that ball is we want to loft it a little bit, but we also want to give it that little bit of topspin. So not only does it have the topspin that's going to bring it down, but it's also going to have that little bit of kick that pushes into them that allows us to put pressure as we move forward. So let's go ahead and watch my partner Rafa here hit a serve on the outside of the ball and into a third shot drop. And again, he's going to hit it into our opponent's backhand, but he gets from 6 o'clock on that ball to 3 o'clock on that ball to 12 o'clock on that ball. So we'll watch this here in real time, and then I'll slow it down. So he drops that paddle head and he gets on the outside of that ball a little bit. So he's going to drop that paddle head. You see how that paddle head is pointing straight down at his feet here? Look at that. That is just pointing straight down here. It's just a little angle, but what he's going to do is he's going to come around that to 3 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So if we just go ahead and go a little bit forward, he goes to the right there, yep, and finishes up at 12 o'clock. Okay, I love that breakdown of the third shot drops. Let's talk about it starting on the forehand side, then we'll get into the backhand side. So again, what I want to focus on is dropping this paddle head here. Tennis is here, pickleball is here. See how we're kind of in this chair position? Getting this paddle head down really makes it easy for us to get around this ball. So if I'm trying to get it into that cross court section here, it's really easy to get on that outside of the ball here, because I'm in front of myself. I've got this paddle head dipped, and again, I'm going from 6 to 3 to 12 on my clock here around the ball. Okay, awesome. And same thing if we want to go down the line, I still want you to get around that ball and brush so that we can have that little bit of topspin to bring it down and kick into our opponent. If that ball gets behind you, it's okay to do a little bit of a slice, but again, I want you to make sure that you're keeping that ball in front of you. And same goes for the backhand, but we're really gonna focus on that left hand, using that left hand to dip that paddle head. So if it were one hand, it would look like this a little bit. We could even go here because one hand ends up being like that. But for two hands, we're gonna put our second hand on and make sure we're dipping that paddle head. Now we're gonna go from 6 to 9 to 12, and same thing. So let's say we're going over to that over there or in front of us, and see how we're finishing over and around that ball. We're getting on that outside of that ball and around. Same thing if we want to go down the line. It's still figuring out how to get on the outside of that ball. All right, have we mastered those roll drops, those drips? If you want to start getting that 4-5, 5-0 level, you got to start being a little bit more aggressive with the thirds. Got to stay consistent, got to keep them 90%. I know that's high, but we can do it with that little bit of roll on it. Okay, let's talk about our driving power, especially when we're up at the net. Again, would love for you to get on that outside of the ball, not sweeping across, taking power away from yourself. I want you to add that easy power, the outside of the ball. So we're going to look at Anwar here, who has insane power. He almost killed me like 4 times, especially you're going to see it right here, because he gets on the outside of the ball so well. So let's just play it fast really quick. Oh my gosh, I almost died there. Okay, so if we come back here just slightly, he's going to get on the outside of this ball so well, which is why this ball goes cross court. You see how he covers that hole? This paddle comes over. He's finishing over on that ball because he's getting on the outside of that ball. So let's see that one more time really quickly. Boom, outside of that ball finishes, almost ends my life. And then he does it again. I'll even keep the circle just on the backhand. Look, this is actually really, really good. Look how he locks these wrists back. He takes that wrist all the way back here. And then he's going to come forward here and finish over, and watch him snap the wrist over again. He's going to close that paddle all the way over. Kind of stops because he's falling, but you can see, yep, he finishes that paddle all the way over because he gets on the outside of that ball and wins the point, and his partner's stoked. It was a great move and a great ball. Okay, let's go to the court. Let's work on our swinging volley drives, keeping those compact, but getting on that outside of that ball and maximizing our power. All right, let's talk about getting up to the kitchen and putting balls away by hitting the ball outside of the ball. All right, so now we're up to the kitchen. Somebody leaves it high, and we want to put the ball away. Instead of hitting with that open face, sliding across our body, I want to make sure we're getting on the outside of that ball. So the big thing to note is I want us to make sure that our paddle face is closed here, as if the sun's hitting it and I've got a shadow, which I do have here. Instead of this open face here, I've lost my shadow. I hope that's in the camera. But when I swing through with this open face, look, the ball goes way long, right? No, I don't care how much you're hitting down on it, through it. We got to close that face and get on that outside of that ball. Close that face, outside of that ball, and get through that ball for that penetrating power. The other thing to note is we have to make sure we keep this swing compact, because if we take a big old backswing and that ball gets back here, it's going to be so hard to get on the outside of the ball because we're going to be late. The earlier we are, the easier it is to get on the outside of that ball. It's impossible for me to drive that ball to the left when I'm late on that ball. So we have to make sure we're compact out in front and get on that outside of that ball. And just like what Anwar did when he came over and stole that ball with the backhand, compact out in front, and really got on the outside of that ball and drove it cross court right down the middle. So we're out in front and we're crossing over. See how we're finishing across our body? I even use my wrist to snap over to help get that extra bite, power, and spin. Okay, let's talk about dinking. This is the most important part of getting on the outside of the ball. Too many times I see people with the paddle sideways here. almost like a tennis player. And I really need you to drop that paddle down and roll on that outside ball. This was the second, it was our first championship point, second to last point of the match here. And I'm going to let you watch. I'm going to describe it as we go here, but as you can see, everybody's dinking on the outside. We'll start from the beginning. It's going to be an 80-point rally, so buckle in because this point is awesome here. So you can see the third shot, he does his typical outside of the ball. And then the dinking, even if it's one-handed or two-handed, but you see the two-hander is really easy to get on the outside of that ball, like what Tom's doing right now over here. These are really good two-handed dinks, but everybody's dipping that paddle head. And now I get into the forehand side. We get in a forehand battle, and we're all on the outside of that ball. Outside of the ball so we can go cross court. Especially that was a nice ball right there. Again, outside of the ball. And I'm putting a lot of pressure on him. Look at me make him move over here left and right. Not only is this match championship point, but I'm making him move. I'm making him stretch. And he does a great job of hanging in these points here. Everybody continues to hit outside of the ball, even with these one-ees here. Adding that left hand really makes it easier to get on that outside of that ball here. But as you can see, every dink outside of the ball. Point might be over here in a second here. But basically what I want to say is let's go outside. Let's dink some balls outside of the ball, right? Right side of the ball for a righty forehand, left side for our backhand. We'll get into it on the court. I'll see you out there. Oh my God, the point's still going on. Ah, there we go. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Oh, we have it. Oh no. Oh no. All right, now we're getting to the most important part to make sure we're hitting the outside of the ball, and this is our dinks. Too many times I see people try and dink with a slice with an open paddle face, and either that ball is going to pop up to your opponent and you get slammed, or you have to hit down on the ball because you have this open face and it goes directly into the net. What I really want to focus on here is dipping this paddle head and making sure that we have this closed face. So see how it's pointing to the cross court side here? That's how we hit on that right side, that outside of the ball, because I'm right-handed here. So I even want you to practice, just drop 3 balls and see if you can get on that outside of that ball with that little bit of topspin. And here's a fun fact that I always teach my students. If I just leave this paddle like this and I drop this ball, look, it has the right topspin that I'm looking for. So really all I need to do is get myself in this position and just lift nice and easy. I don't need to do too much. I'm just using my legs and my shoulders, my big muscles here, and getting on this outside of the ball and hitting a consistent same ball over and over so that you can have that 80 ball dink rally on match point. And of course, same thing on the backhand. I want to make sure we're getting on that outside of that ball. Even if we hit one-handers, you saw in those points that a lot of the times they take the ball out of the air with one hand and they're just keeping that paddle bent so it gets on the outside of the ball and they go cross court. Cross court is the safest play. You have way more room and a lower net clearance, so it's an easier ball to hit. So we're outside of that ball, right? If we're trying to hit the inside of the ball, it's going to go there, or it even pops up a little bit. I want us to focus on getting on that outside of the ball, even if it's one-handed. And of course, same thing with two-hand. We're going to let that left hand do a lot of the dictation here, just like the third shot drop with the two-handed backhand. We're going to let that two-hander just roll over nice, smooth, and easy, keeping that paddle in front of us, using our legs again. Super easy. All right, great job dinking on the outside of the ball. Let's talk about the footwork to get us to the outside of the ball. Let's go back to our long rally here where I stretch Anwar a lot here. I'm trying to get my feet behind this ball every single time. You'll see for the most part, I'm trying to keep my feet behind this ball here. See how he does a good job of sliding every single time he's sliding over and then he slides back. Sometimes he has to reach when that ball comes out, but for the most part, we're trying to keep that ball. See how Rafa tries to keep that ball in front of his feet? It's the footwork. It's that crab walk. I also want you to know he hasn't crossed his feet once yet. Nobody has crossed their feet yet. Everyone's keeping that wide, low athletic base. No cross of feet, no cross of feet. Yep, that was actually a really good job. Like, this footwork is awesome that nobody's had to cross their feet yet. See if we get a foot cross. I don't think so. Everyone's doing a really good job of sliding and keeping that ball in front of them. Yeah, that's really nice. Okay, awesome. Let's go outside and let's find footwork to help keep that ball in front of us. Footwork in doubles is really an underrated aspect because it's such a small court, you don't really think you need footwork. But if you can utilize that footwork to put yourself in the right spot every single time, to anticipate being in the right spot every single time, it will set you up for success for so many points. So let's get out there and work on our footwork.
But Troy, the ball isn't hit right to me where I can hit it on the outside of the ball. That's such a great point. And as you saw in the 80 ball rally, we are moving our feet after every single point. Whether we're hitting the ball or not, we are repositioning ourselves into a new spot so that we can make sure we get our feet in the right position so that we can hit the outside of the ball and hit an offensive aggressive dink instead of just playing defense the whole time. So if that ball gets pulled wide, sometimes it's okay if you get to the sideways. And yes, I'm still trying to get on that outside of the ball and I hit a slice defensive dink. But here's what I want you to do is I want you to take that extra step or two so that you can get around it and continue to hit a push, roll, aggressive dink and get yourself back to the advantage. So the footwork becomes instrumental here when we're sliding and shuffling. And as you notice, not once have I crossed my feet over to do that. It's impossible to hit that roll when I'm twisted like this. I have to keep that open stance. So I want you to shuffle like a crab and make sure we are never cross stepping. Happens when it needs to. Try your best not to. All right, team, you guys did a great job of getting on the outside of that ball. From your serve to your thirds to your dinks to your drives, we're always wanting to get to the outside of that ball. And the best way to do that is to move your stinking feet. All right, team, if you got value out of this video, please hit that subscribe button. I've got a ton of content coming your way. Also, remember, I have a full-length 20 module course coming. So if you guys are interested in that, sign up with your email below. I'll continue to give you notifications. Appreciate your support on this pickleball journey, and I will see you guys in the next video.